Greetings, everyone. I hope you all are having an amazing day. I've just been resting a lot. I have to force myself, but I'm doing a lot better. So this picture right here is a picture of the Scientology org in Mexico. And if you guys didn't know, this right here, that's a sigil. A lot of people don't know that. And not all sigils are bad. It's just something people do in magic. But anyhow. So what better place, in my opinion, to harvest children in Mexico, right? Under the guise of religion. And I'm just using this picture because it's just one that I was thinking of. I was trying to find ratings of Scientology in Mexico, and I was unable to find any. Weird, huh? So I just wanted to talk about, and I hope that this can be helpful to someone or some agency of the law, in what I've learned since researching crimes and abuses in Scientology under the guise of religion. And it's documented all over the place. It's documented on the internet. It's documented in how many books have we seen of former Scientologists that have come out. Yes, granted, some of that could be considered hearsay, but it's easy to find documentation proving the abuses and crimes of Scientology, as well as other forms of evidence that is in current time, in 2025. Apparently, when crimes are committed in real time or current time, there would not be any statute of limitations on crimes that are committed in 2025. And I know it's pompous, arrogant, and easy for me to say, just get it done. And we all know that's not an easy task, especially when you're operating under the energy of black magic as well as greed, in harvesting the energy of children as well as adults. So I'm just winging this. I just thought this would be an interesting video to make. I really should have notes, but I don't. Honestly, Jesse Prince's book was really good. I want to go back and highlight some of the things he talked about. And, of course, finish Nathan Rich's book. I'm embarrassed to say how long it's taken me to finish it. I believe I think my next chapter will be chapter 17. And what I want to do is finish all those chapters. And then my plans are to go into Jenna Miscavige's book. And anyways, let me get back to the regularly scheduled program. What I've learned about the crimes and abuses in Scientology are, number one, and first and foremost, all of the child abuse, whether neglect, physical abuse, abuse, malnourishment, maltreatment, breach of duty of care, negligence, failure to thrive, false imprisonment, corporal punishment, just to name a few. Scientology has participated in the past as well as currently in all of these crimes, most specifically on children. Apparently, hold on. Apparently, there are federal statutes, laws being broken under the guise of religion within the walls and confines of Scientology, most specifically the Hotels of Darkness, which there are numerous accounts of child abuse and crimes against children in that book, Child X by Jamie Mustard. Also, documented evidence, as explained on Mike Brown 101's channel, and numerous YouTube accounts, first-hand accounts from children that are now adults, the ones that are still alive. They make children that are very young sign contracts, billing year contracts, to pledge their allegiance, kind of like a lodge, to clearing the planet, allegedly making the planet better by servitude and forced labor of children and adults. Parents, most of them, basically just sign their children over, kind of like Brave New World, but what do I know? Where they are forced to work 18 to 24-hour days, sometimes a little less. They're put into camps and schools where they are only taught basics within these Scientology schools. Federally funded, by the way, but what do I know? These Scientology schools in which the children only learn basic math, how to read, black tooth, fully defunct, moronic imbecile, L. Ron Hubbard allegedly wrote, children only need to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. They are prevented from getting a full education, whether it's in Mexico, whether it is in England, Africa, Russia, the Ukraine, wherever they are located. Some children are lucky enough to go to a public school for a while. Most of them are not. They are separated from their parents, in which the parents voluntarily hand their children over, and made to work most specifically at the flag base, where apparently a lot of the Clearwater PD are totally okay with that. Forced to work every single day away from their parents. numerous accounts of child SA. Child SA from the adults, because the adults have free reign over the children, whether they're male or female, as well as child upon child abuse accounts. When the child comes forward and tells anyone, like an ethics officer, like an auditor, like a so-called minister, ecclesiastical leader, allegedly, instead of doing the right thing and punishing the perpetrator, whether the perpetrator is a child, which for anyone who doesn't understand what a child is, that would be under 18. Whether the perpetrator is under 18 years old or over 18, they really do nothing about it and often will send the perpetrator to another place, punish the child who was AR'd, just like they do in the Mormons, various sects, just like they do in the Catholic religion and other so-called high control groups or cults. In Scientology, the child is told that they were out 2D. For anyone who doesn't take the time to go and read to find out what 2D is, that's the second dynamic, which pertains to relationship statuses, some type of romantic relationship status, as well as the sexual dynamics. Reese Cabell went into great length at how she was abused in Scientology as a 14-year-old girl. Her father did not protect her. All of the people working at the Kansas org, adults, none of them protected her. Police didn't protect her. Nobody protected her. And she has receipts. Miriam Francis was abused by her own father in Australia, and nothing was done about it. Valerie Haney was abused when she was in Scientology. Nothing was done about it. There are so many accounts of S-ring abuse of the young girls on the Apollo ship, otherwise known as the Royal Scotsman, and other ships that they had, all covered up. None of the perpetrators were ever held accountable. There were no punishments for them. In fact, oftentimes they are rewarded, especially if they're contributing financially to Scientology, which for anyone who doesn't take the time to find out, that means they're up stat. Go look at the case of, I'm trying to remember the name, in San Francisco. The perpetrator's name, Gavin Potter, for the police officers that don't know how to, look up things on Google. She was coerced to leave her parents, turned over, basically handed over to a so-called manager who was a married adult. Not that the marriage has anything to do with anything, but where he in turn abused this young girl repeatedly. She won her law case, for anyone who wants to take 5 minutes to go look at the case. In real time, LAPD, Clearwater PD, Denver PD, Chicago PD, FBI, Department of Justice, whoever thinks children are really important. There is a current case going on right now as we speak of the Delphian School, which also is a Scientology school. Children were and most likely still are being abused at this school in Oregon. The children came forward, reported the abuse. The teachers numerous teachers that were there that weren't even qualified to be teachers, honestly. By law, they didn't have the credentials. The teachers, the principal, all Scientologists covered it up. No punishment. Just look it up, Delphian School, where the basketball coach was abusing the boys for years. And in all these cases that have happened in Scientology, the perpetrator, of course, just like in the Catholic religion or any of these other religions, went on to abuse more children, as it always is. Isn't it great, too, that Warren Jeffs is living in luxury in prison? He's living the life up there. Okay. Point B, as in beta, as in Bravo. How Scientology infiltrates into other organizations, just like an octopus with tentacles, to get at the kids. Well, number one, they use their first harvesting bank, which would be adult Scientologists with Scientology children. That's their first place. And they harp and they harp and they harp and they harp on the parents to get the children to join the Sea Org, which, from all my research, it's illegal to do this, but, laws. Their second form of infiltration would be going into middle schools and high schools. They've been doing it for 70 years and nobody seems to know how to catch them at it. Kind of like how so many authorities and people don't know how to catch all these pedophiles in these elementary schools and high schools. And it's not all the cops' fault. I'm not putting it all on you guys, but I'm just saying, how it's gone on this long is beyond me. Another way that Scientology infiltrates to get at the children would be places like the YMCA, police functions. They love that. Fairs. Any place where there's going to be kids, there they are. They're getting very good right now because the pressure's on so hard with them to reach out to children online, which, again, I thought that was illegal, but, A lot of the adults that are in Scientology that are perpetrating abuse on the children were born into Scientology themselves. The abuse and crimes of Scientology, 90% of the time, are written into the policies. And apparently none of these agencies are able to get a hold of Scientology policy. They don't know how to interpret Scientology's, 70 years later, nobody knows how to do that. They love to latch onto other organizations or events of other organizations, which we had seen recently in Los Angeles. I forget what the name of that organization was called, but Jessica Palmadessa and William Good documented it. They also go for the children through Narcanon. Children that are vulnerable and in a bad state, like many of their child Scientologists. Please read Nathan Rich's book. Unless it's just too much for you to, take a few hours to read that book. Then they will get the children at their lowest possible state, which, of course, 90% of them, probably 99% of them, are traumatized in some ways, whether it's just a really bad home life, whether it's physical abuse, neglect, drug addicted or alcohol addicted parents, absent parents, F's abuse, these children turn to drugs or alcohol, and then there's Scientology just waiting for them. Not only do they practice medicine without a license, and just go look at all the bluicides of children in Narconon. It's documented. I'm not making anything up. If one of the children is somewhat successful in the Narconon program, they recruit them to work at Narconon, where there have been so many assaults on girls and women. It's unreal. Or they recruit the child minor, a minor, into the Sea Org, where they work 16 to 20-hour days, doing hard manual labor. If for some reason the child happens to be from a country that's not America, I'm focusing more on the American Scientology organizations because I know a little more about America, but it happens everywhere. It doesn't really matter if they're in America or not. But if the child has come to America on an R2 visa program, the adults would be the R1, and then the child would be the R2, under the guise of, they're going to be a minister for Scientology. Once the child gets to America, let's say Clearwater, Florida, or Los Angeles, maybe the Denver org, maybe the Boston org, wherever they're at, Scientology, usually the executives, will take their passports and lock it up, which, again, I thought that was illegal, but, They infiltrate meetup groups. There are a lot of people working behind the scenes to really alert meetup to what's going on with Scientology. They utilize formats like Discord, Reddit, and I'm a little older, so I don't know all these newer formats, but any type of social media, any type of public forum, if they can get at the children, they will. They also, I don't know if I would call this infiltration, but another way that they are able to cajole unknowing parents into getting the children is brand new Scientologists that they're not really understanding everything about the abuses and crimes of Scientology, is they will cajole and talk the parents into signing over guardianship. A lot of the parents don't want to do that, but they're feeling so pressured to do so, which again, I think, isn't that called under duress? Again, I digress. Oftentimes, the parents won't really know the guardian well. Sometimes they do know the guardian well, and it's happened on numerous occasions that the guardians actually abuse the children. So the child has no outlet to complain or to get help from anywhere because Scientology does not believe in reporting crimes to the authorities. It's written into their policies. Another policy that would be good to check out, aside from the abuses of children, is the R245, in which L. Ron Hubbard allegedly solidified that it was okay at any cost to silence a critic or a Scientologist that was not playing the game, which means MERK, Merc, in written policy. Give me a minute to think. I'm trying to think here. How they get at the children is they always come saying they're helping. And a lot of Scientologists they don't understand what all is going on, so not all of them are heinously abusing children, although if they're complicit in the system, the machine equals child abuse, period. They'll go to various countries when there are natural disasters and hand out the Way to Happiness books to try to get to people that are vulnerable, to include children. They create contests. They love to get at children that are interested in acting. That's one of their big, big lures. And I know that there are agencies that supposedly are supposed to look out for the children's welfare in general, but Scientology always seems to find a way around it. I just shared on my channel a story of a child who was not a Scientologist who went to an acting school and was horrendously abused. It was harrowing. So those are just a few of the places they infiltrate, organizations and or events to lure in the children. C as in Charlie. The third way that Scientology or Scientologists legitimize the abusing and trafficking of children, written into policy, children are adults in small bodies and they need to produce. Please go see Mike Brown 101 video series on exactly how children are treated. He and two other former Scientologists, Miriam Francis and another lady, I forgot her name, talk about what they went through as children, and it's still going on. Hemet, California, where the INT base is located, has Constantine wire out there, so adults as well as children are not able to escape. Children are adults in small bodies. More policies on child abuse. Making children go to ethics handlings. Locking them up against their will. Forcing them to lay on the floor with no blankets. Sometimes made to lay on a bunk that is 6 beds high with urine-soaked mattresses and dirty blankets, if they're allowed blankets. When they're put under punishment like ethics handlings or having withholds, please look it up. It's like sinning in another, but it's a little different because it's all written in a policy. The child will be given only beans and rice, and the beans and rice won't even taste good to top it off until they come back in line. Many of the children are malnourished because they're not allowed healthy or sustainable nourishment. As far as that goes, the adults as well. All you have to do is look at what they look like. The public Scientologists are allowed a little more freedoms, but the ones in the Sea Org or the staff, the majority of them, including children, are underweight. You can tell by looking at their hair. Their hair has no luster or shine to it. That's from malnutrition. Many of the older adults have the hump in their back, which means deficiency of nutrients. So to the continuation of Charlie, the third way in which children have crimes committed against them and abuse is written right into their policies. Jenna Miscavige, as a child, 12 years old, was held down by two adults while she was kicking and screaming because she didn't, I believe it was because she didn't want to go to flag base or something. I don't remember exactly. And she had no parents looking out for her. Her uncle Dave sure was not looking out for her. Her aunt by marriage, Shelley Miscavige, the loser that she is, wasn't looking out for her. And Jenna, because she was feeling very despondent, rightfully so, was locked up in a room and continually given ethics handlings. If you guys don't know what that is, you should probably go do a little bit of searching online. The Johannesburg check is great. Especially, all the sexual questions that either the child auditors or the children being audited constantly have to answer. Children are worked usually 6 days a week, very long days, some anywhere from 14 to 18-hour days. This is hard to talk about, you guys. Saturdays for them are renovation day on the int base. Apparently the Hemet police are like cool with that. And Sunday, the only time that they have any kind of time off is time for them to wash their own clothing. And the ones that have less money, which there are a lot of them, only have one pair of pants, one shirt, and for the very, very poor, only one set of underwear or socks. For the children that are public Scientologists, a lot of them are forced to pay rent, are forced to pay for their own clothing, forced to pay for bills. It's called out exchange. So in other words, if a child is out exchange, that means they owe their parents. Like, they can't just live like a child on the outside world. They have to earn their keep. And many of them run away, and we all know a lot of the LAPD just bring them straight back. I mean, I guess there's no easy answers here. Because what would the LAPD do? What are they going to do? Put them into the group homes? We know what happens there. So, the other crimes I'm not going to cover as much because I'm focusing more on the kids. So many crimes, so little time. D as in Delta would be the financial crimes. There's so many of those crimes. There's so many of those crimes. The chase wave. Oftentimes, for the wealthier Scientologists, well, actually all of them, they will lock them in rooms until they either give up their credit card or bring out their checkbooks to donate huge amounts of money that they can't afford. Or even if they can't afford it, they take everything. Scientology is the biggest parasite on the planet. And any police officer that's willing to take a check from any of these Scientology orgs, whether it's Mexico, whether it is Denmark, whether it's the UK, that money comes from child labor, just so you know. Yeah, we all know there are certain people on this planet that don't have a conscience. But I mean, for the ones who do, in case you didn't know, now you know. Echo. E is an echo. Crimes against the elderly. There are many crimes against the elderly. I'm not going to go into all the details, but I have a lot of mixed feelings on that because those elderly sitting there in desperate need were more than willing to abuse those children. So some of them are getting their karma. But, I mean, if you look at it from an ethical standpoint, there's a lot of elder abuse. F is in Frank. That would be all of the suspicious deaths that have been covered up. Abuse against the disabled. Lisa McPherson. Oh, there's another lady. I can't think of her name right now. Lisa Shavel. So they really have a problem with women in Scientology. They don't even allow women or little girls to be called girls. They have to address everyone as sir. That's a problem. And then, because literally I could go into this for an hour, 2 hours. G as in giant. All the S abuse of children and women. And Chris Mallon of the UK Scientology org talked about on Douglas Kramer's channel about some of the Scientologists, and I think it goes way deeper than this, were actually distributors of child porn. Unless police officers or federal agents are complicit and agreeable to F's crimes on children and women. And probably occasionally on men as well. There's plenty of boys that were F's abused. So I'm going to leave it at that. It doesn't hurt to share what I've learned. And we can only hope that eventually the children are freed. The adults have to save themselves, but the children are not able to save themselves. So us and any angelic spirits, God, spirit, whatever you believe in, we can hope that we can get the children out. Peace.